Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Nice to see you all. Welcome to this meeting of the Community Environmental Services Committee. We will start with apologies for absence. Nick, any apologies?
No, just that John Hemling is on holiday.
And Chris Harvey.
And Chris Harvey.
Oh, Chris Harvey.
Chris Harvey. Yeah.
Thank you. And welcome to you guys. We'll come to you in a minute. 26125, any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests to declare? No. In that case, we'll move on to 26225, which is minutes of the last meeting. These have been circulated in your pack. Everybody happy? Any changes required? Happy with the proposer? And a seconder? Thank you.
No, they've got to. They've
Got to
with them too.
Finals.
Favour.
All those in favour?
Everyone's in favour? Yes. All in favour? Thank you. Okay. So we have a couple of guests this evening who would like to speak to us on one of the items on the agenda. I'm proposing to spare them sitting through the rest of our business, that we move that item up the agenda. I just need a proposer and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Land and Councillor Peters. All in favour of doing that? Great. Thank you. So I'd like to invite you, if I understand you've got a few words you'd like to say to us on this item.
So thank you, good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Carla, and I'm the Director of Filipino Childcare. I'm here to talk about something very simple, very positive and profoundly important for our children. Our educational visits to the allotment plot registered under my father, Julio Ferreira, who has maintained and cared for that plot for the past 15 years. First, I want to make clear that the plot remains entirely his responsibility. He manages it, maintains it, and pays all associated fees. The nursery does not run any business from the allotment, nor do we profit from it in any way. We simply take small groups of children there for short supervised educational sessions, nothing more. Our aim is purely educational and entirely community focused. For many of our children, especially those growing up in urban areas or without access to gardens, this is their only real contact with nature. For some, this is the first time they have ever planted a seed, touched the soil, or learned where the food actually comes from. In early areas education, real hands-on experience are irreplaceable. They build curiosity, confidence, environmental awareness, and connection to the world around them. These are experiences that stay with them for life. We work extremely hard at Filipinos to give children opportunities they might not otherwise have. And the allotment has become one of the most meaningful learning experiences and environments we offer. As you can see with some of the letters that we gave you that parents written. Allotments exist to serve the community, and we believe this is a perfect example of what the purpose is in action. While not every family has access to a plot, this arrangement allows over 200 local children to benefit from one. It opens the gate to a space they would otherwise never experience, and it does so responsibly, safely, and respectfully. My father is proud to share the plot with the next generation. I also want to reassure the committee that we take safety extremely seriously. We all have the required insurance in place. We carry out detailed risk assessment for every visit. All sessions are led by qualified, experienced staff who supervise the children closely at all times. Any concerns previously raised by council officers have been addressed by my father who unfortunately were temporarily unable to act sooner due to a medical procedure. We contacted the council as soon as we became aware that formal permission was required. We are here today because we want to ensure full transparency and cooperation moving forward. Our request, we respectfully ask the committee to allow us to continue taking children to the allotment plot. We are not asking for special treatment or financial support. We are simply asking to continue something that enriches children's lives, strengthens community spirit, using an existing plot without taking anything away from other residents, and promotes environmental education at a time when it's more important than ever. This small piece of land has created big opportunities for local children. We hope to continue providing those opportunities with your approval and support. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you would like to ask.
Thank you very much. That was very clear and helpful. Thank you. And we've been provided with 16 letters of support, which you may have seen already from parents of children who attend this setting. So can share those too. I'm just going to ask Nick if he has any comments to add.
Yeah, so just on behalf of the allotment officer that's sort of previously dealt with the registered tenant, just to say to the committee that, you know, Carla has tried to make contact several times, as the family have, you know, noted that the gentleman was out of the country, so contact was a little bit limited throughout the time. But the officer's recommendation that has been given is that the allotment officer recommends that the tenant is allowed to continue provided the allotment is used as an allotment plot and maintained to the standards set out in the tenancy agreement. So as long as it's being used for the cultivation of vegetables and fruit, and there's, you know, evidence of growing happening, he is happy to support that decision. So it's to ask of the committee if you're happy to also support that recommendation. Vic?
Councillor Peters.
Could I just ask, I can't get the pictures up at the moment, but I've looked at the pictures that were supplied by the allotment officer, and I looked at the report earlier, which mentioned that you'd already had a few visits with the children to the plot. I'm assuming that is in the time that your father was away?
Yeah, well, so we've been using the allotment for years now. The children go in, they go to the other plots where there's people there, and there's loads of older people there to explain how they plant different things, and yeah, so.
Okay, you said other plot, what other?
So when they walk in, they literally from all, if someone's around, they tend to show.
They can, yeah.
Okay, so knowing the nursery as I do, you've got little dots that are doing it, but the photographs that I've seen, it doesn't look like there's been any work done on that.
So they.
For a long of, if ever. So I'm not saying, so the photograph that we've got, it's just compacted, there isn't any planting, there isn't.
There is strawberries planted there, there is loads of herbs, so there's lavender there, there's lemon grass there, there's
So there's two plots. One is, and from what my phone, I think I spoke to Carl at the time. So there's two, they actually have two plots, two allotments next to each other. And they plant different things at different times of the year. Now, the one that we tend to use more, he had something, I don't know what the stuff that he had, but since the last big storm, I think that he had something over it, everything got destroyed. But they actually been away since May this year. They went to Portugal, and unfortunately he had to have an emergency procedure, and he literally came back to the letters to say they had to vacate the plot, and that's when we started a conversation. That's when we've got in contact with Nick as well to try and get it sorted. The line I explained to Carl at the time, and they've explained, I don't plant stuff, so I don't really touch about it, but certain things need to be planted at certain times throughout the year.
yeah.
And they intend to plant, now that they're back, they intend to plant, what they do with something.
I understand the growth calendar and what vegetables, flowers and stuff you can.
Because the issue, one of the issues that Carl raised was, that we didn't know, was that the plot needs to be 75% cultivated.
We didn't know
We didn't
that,
know.
because my dad always kept
They always
it.
do what they have to do.
Yeah.
We just go there and,
Which is the point I'm trying to
yeah, we
raise.
just go there and visit. It's
I
not,
wasn't aware it was two plots.
yeah.
I've got the pictures, I thought it was the same plot, but it doesn't look like there's been anything grown on it for years. And it doesn't feel, I mean, from my view, if you've got young children, they will have raised beds and stuff like that. There isn't any beds, there isn't anything on there. It is just compacted. The report from the allotment manager or
Manager, officer,
Yeah.
actually said it was just compacted soil. So there's a lot of work to be done on that to bring that to 75% cultivated,
I mean,
which
that's,
you're not going to get dots doing.
no, but that's, I think you're getting the point wrong here. We're not responsible for planting and making sure that's 75%. That's
My dad.
As far as I'm aware, we need to ask permission
But
to
if he
visit.
doesn't do that, how are young children going to be?
Yeah, we're asking permission to use the plot, to go and visit the plots, and that's what we call.
So if it's your father-in-law's, why are you here?
It's my dad,
Sorry, your dad's. Why are you?
because he doesn't speak English, so
And we're asking permission to visit.
because the problem
I
is,
think the issue is not about visiting the plot. I think the issue is the plots are for cultivation and this clearly isn't being cultivated.
okay, so do you want me to go there with you and show you how many plots are being absolutely abandoned?
Well, that's for other, that's neither here nor there. That's for other people to sort out other things. We're talking about this plot here.
Okay, but just to be clear, we're here to ask permission to go in there, not what the tenant is responsible for doing. Am I right? That's what, Nick, what we had to talk.
So
We're here to ask
for the committee to also know, so that obviously there's been correspondence over a period of time that Carl's been trying to make contact to notify that there's been no cultivation to the standard of the 70% of the allotment being cultivated. So one of the questions that's raised is obviously, like Councillor Lander said, you know, when you look at the pictures, there is only small little proportions that are being cultivated. The rest is grass. And the problem we have is with other tenants that are cultivated nearby, it's not necessarily as fair to them because they're trying to cultivate and they're obviously getting everything coming over from that side. So it's obviously to note that, yes, the plot has been kind of identified that there is issues. And it's also for the committee to note and decide whether they're happy to continue for the nursery to go up there, because we've got no official documentation. Although you say you've had permission, we've got nothing in writing from the nursery on record that we have. No.
Permission in, so I think Miles spoke to one of my staff members back in, we have the emails back in January or February. And he said, email this email. So we have the emails that she basically asked permission to use for the children to use the allotment. And we're still waiting to hear. So it was back in January.
January 2025.
Yeah.
thank you. I've got a few people waiting to ask questions or comments, so Councillor MacDonald.
So I think it's been mentioned already, but there is two parts to this. The fact that you would take children there, I think, is commendable. I think it grows them for the future. It's really a positive thing to do, which as a council we would generally encourage. That aside, the plot needs to be in good order. Now, we know that there are other plots that are not in good order. And this is why we've spent a lot of time trying to get those plots improved. And this is just one of them. And we have to get to a point where if people don't improve it, then it's not fair on all those others who are maintaining their plots. So this doesn't change it any at all, the fact that we've got a group of visitors going there. You know, that's great. But I think, from my point of view, if this plot was suddenly turned round and we've got an agreement that you can take the children, brilliant, best thing ever. If it stays like that, we can't.
And that's,
It's not fair to anybody.
To have time, so the last letter that my parents received was, I think, 2 weeks, and then, the plot was gonna be taken away from here, so we need time to, you know, my dad is 80, he's, you know, he can't look after two allotments all the time.
I mean, if we have to help, if we are to get that sorted for him, so yeah, that's fine, that's not an issue. But we, you know, like,
We just need
like
time.
the gentleman said there, why are we here? You know, we're here to ask
Yeah.
permission to go in, not to what do we have to do with the jobs. Like I said, you know, it's my father-in-law's responsibility. We're happy to help him out and get it all sorted, but, you know, we're here to ask permission to go in, which was the issue with Carl at the time, was that we don't have permission to go in.
Thank you. Councillor Beretta. And Councillor Peters, isn't it?
So I can see both points. The points that you have to meet the threshold 70% of the plot being planted, which is within policy and rules. I can see the value for the community, for children to have a green area to access to plant things and see them grow as part of their service and, you know, the childcare package. I wonder if there's a compromise to be made here. There's an issue that the plot, you know, yours and the family members. I think, to be honest, we can be quite lenient when it comes to that. The gentleman was sick, was away taking care of health. We can certainly give an extension in a certain amount of time to say, look, this has been left a little bit unused, hasn't been planted properly. It needs to be brought up to a better standard. Would you brought up this or plant this or making sure that it's up to the standard that we require within such a wide time? You know, and there may be a way forward is that you have time to build up the plots and then how you go about planting with their children visited. That might be something that needs to be worked as well, because the plot needs to be planted. Maybe that some areas are planted and barred for children to walk around. Some others may have the raised beds that were mentioned here before. So there's ways that can be worked out. There's a way for that can be worked out. But I'd suggest an extension on the amount of time that the gentleman, the actual plot owner, which is your family member, has to bring the plot to standard before taking and other measures. And then it's a matter of whether or not the children can continue to visit, which I don't see a problem. I think it's beneficial for the children themselves.
Thank you, Councillor Beretta. Councillor Peters?
Yeah, I'm not saying that this isn't beneficial for the children, because obviously it would be. What I'm saying is this plot hasn't been up to standard for a fair amount of time. I do understand that your father's not been well, and I do wish him well. I really do. But before we can say, yeah, well, you know, the kids can go, this has to be up to standard and kept at standard, because it's not right that children would be going there and it's not up to the standard. They have to have the raised beds, they have to have that sort of thing there. Otherwise, it's just not going to be feasible for them to go. It's a nice area, yes, it's just grass and it's safe, but it has to be safe for the children.
Sorry, I'm sorry to say this, but we are the only outstanding nursery in Thetford.
I understand that.
When it comes to.
That's not the point. That's not the point I'm making. Nothing against nursery. I've got nothing against what you're trying to do. I think it's commendable. The problem is that you've got an allotment that you're going to go on that is not up to the standard of the allotment. And we have to treat that the same as every other allotment. It's not about what you want to do. It's about the allotment. I can't comment on what you do. I do find it commendable. I find it commendable that you are an asset to the children of the town. Absolutely do. It has to be safe and it has to be up to standard before we can say, or for my personal view, I'm not talking for anybody else. If it's not up to a standard and something happened, I would feel immensely guilty that I said, just go ahead and do it.
So
Can I- I'm just going to bring in the town clerk.
With regards to health and safety, what we have to make sure is we are not, I don't know about my colleagues, but I am not an expert on children. You clearly are. But what I am an expert on is our insurance company will want me to make sure that anyone who is on them allotments is covered by our insurance. Now, one of the things that I need to look at that I haven't done so far, because I've only become aware of this today, is that I need to know that our insurance covers us to start with. So if councillors make a decision today, one of the decisions is that that would have to be subject to our insurance company agreeing. Because if I go back to the insurance company and they say absolutely no way, then this is the end of the conversation. For that reason, I know that your insurance might cover you.
We were told by Carl that the issue was, are we covered by our insurance? Are we covered in health and safety? Are we doing? So that's why I got a bit, yes, we are,
Yeah.
we need to have insurance.
we can show you our risk assessment.
I'm sure.
So I think this is where things.
I'm sure, yeah.
On, what insurance are we talking about? What risk assessments?
Because
I
they
understand now.
our
but-
children, so when we take them out, our insurance covers us in our children.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, but what I need to make sure is that when you're walking to your plot and you're passing all of the other plots, that one, there's not things there that could harm them that we would be responsible for as a council, because there are sharp objects there. There are chickens over there. There are other animals, diseases. There are a lot of diseases in these animals being carried at the moment with bird flu and God knows what else.
Chickens, one of the nurseries, so we do.
And I'm sure you
When
give them.
we were never told that it needs to be regarding your insurance. It's always been about our insurance. That's why we've got insurance for that. We
Yeah.
do that. So this is where I think things are getting a bit were a bit muddy.
Yeah, I think.
I understand now that you guys need to look after the insurance and you do that.
So one of the things we do need to look at is the insurance. And the other thing is, your father is clearly 80 years old. Can he manage 2 plots? Should we reduce it down? Would you be able to take over and look after that plot? Is another question, because he is clearly not managing that plot at this moment in time.
It was all this time, like Carl said, he went to Portugal for a week and he ended up staying there till almost now, for like a month ago, because he had an emergency appendicitis. He's 80, takes a lot longer to heal, he's diabetic, recovery went wrong. But I would gladly take over the one plot. The other one, he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He loves to go. And it's something for him to do, so.
But what we can't do is give you 1 plot, because I think there is a waiting list. Yeah.
So you mean, we would pass it?
Yes, we would support
We
it.
So you would have to commit to being responsible for that. And one of the things that I think council should ask for is you do it within a time frame.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Okay, if you could just hold there for a second. I've got councillor Wright waiting and then councillor Land, and then we'll try and wrap this up if we can.
I think the officer recommendation is probably the lead that we should go for, to give permission for the nursery to visit, subject obviously to Town Clerk's point regarding access for our insurance. But I suspect with the relevant risk assessments that you've prepared, that will satisfy our insurers anyway, as long as it's supervised and you've got a method statement about what you do. And then I think you set a time limit, so if within 3 months the unit not an improvement to the pot, then obviously we then deal with it in the normal manner that we asked to vacate, because I think we have to set a time limit.
Thank you. And councillor Land, anything to add?
Yeah, I think in a sense, the children are a bit of a red herring here. We run allotments. That's what we're here for. The first letter went out, I noticed, on the 14th of July. That's 4.5 months ago. There have been 2 letters since. Looking at the pictures here, that plot has clearly not been cultivated for a long length of time. So I see no reason to continue letting that plot out, because our rules are quite clear that plots should be cultivated, all plots should be cultivated, and this one obviously isn't, and that's the issue for me.
Okay. We'll, councillor Breton?
Just very briefly, I understand all the points on the table. I do think that extension would be the reasonable thing to do, consider that gentlemen did have a health issue. And I say that because I can see how situations like those can happen. My mother-in-law is the settled status. She lives here. However, she lives and works here. She had a problem in a toe and she's been in and out of hospital for 2 years. She hasn't been released to travel back to the UK again yet. And it's been 2 years. If she had an allotment, I put myself in her shoes. If she had an allotment in a situation where she was letting other family members or children locally using the plot, I'd feel almost unfair because of the situation itself. I know it's a matter of empathy, but I think I need to have that sensibility that the gentleman hasn't been around and this being due to health issues, not because he disregarded or because he didn't want to know about it. Obviously, they are taking over something that is not under their name. They're just using it. So I think that a middle term can be reached here. If they do, obviously bring the plot up to standard, like Councillor Wright said, in quite well.
Councillor Peters, last word.
Yeah, just want to sum up what my feelings. As I said, I do think it is minimal that they want to do this, but the allotment officer's report said that if the allotment plot in its current state and use is continued to be allowed, it will become unsuitable for the use of growing fruit and vegetables, which is what we want to do for the children. That we want them to do it. The expected standards and the use of cultivation is expected by the council, and his recommendation is that we allow the allotment to be used primarily as an allotment plot for growing fruit and vegetables. Now, my concern is, as I've said before, that about the allotment, it isn't up to the standard yet. If it gets up to standard, then it would possibly be the grounds for the nursery to use that. But it isn't up to standard at the moment, and we can't say let's let anybody else on that plot until such time that it is brought into. I would say the allotment officer said it should be allowed, but he's basically saying only if it's brought up to standard. And my personal view is if we're saying up to standard, it has to be 70% cultivated. There should be raised beds for the purpose of growing fruit and vegetables, and then it would become possibly an educational thing. But as it stands at the moment, I just think we need that plot up to standard. It's not about the nursery. It's not about I really do feel for the gentleman if he's been poorly, but he's got 2 plots to look after. That has to come up to standard before we could allow anything else.
Okay, thank you. So I think everybody's had a say on this now, so we'll put it to a vote, I think. And the recommendation from the allotment officer is that the tenant is allowed to continue provided the allotment is used with all those conditions. So
Can we add in there the fact we need a time frame to bring it back up to standard? And secondly, we need to check on our insurance.
Some caveats.
are we doing that as a one vote?
Yeah.
The amendment is come from.
I think,
Yes. So I'd be happy to suggest an amendment,
Yeah.
and that is that the land is brought up to use with 70%, and it's done within a time frame. Now, the time frame I'm going to ask Nick for is what's the general amount of time that it would take
To bring it
somebody
up.
to put that right? Because I could say 2 days, and that ain't going to be enough.
It would not be realistic, isn't it?
So I think realistically, looking at the plot and the photos, I would say a fair estimate would be six months.
So
But that would be
yes. The letter stated that it has to be up within 2
3
months.
months.
Date of the letter,
Okay.
and hang on, should be all right. It's the clearance one. I think we should look at the what the normal time frame is, because the formal notice said. Let me check. When was the initial letter sent? The initial letter was sent on the 19th, second letter was sent 19th August. And it gave them basically 28 days to get the plot up to a standard.
Okay, well, if I may on that, we've already done 28 days. However, we now know, because of the visit, that the gentleman's been ill. It would make sense to allow a further period, starting from now, if that's acceptable.
From the date of the letter,
Well, no, from this meeting, we decided
Right.
from this meeting, aren't we?
So given the time of year now, and if we allow 6 months, then we're around to next May, which by that time, if you haven't done anything then, you aren't going to do anything.
3 months.
So I would say by the end of February. So it's in a state to be ready for part of that season.
So the 3, yeah,
3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
Is that fair?
It's reasonable.
I think it's fair. I think it's very generous actually, because it's 3 times the
Yeah,
the time they were given.
Yeah, so just to be clear, the amendment we'll vote on then is an extension with a review at the end of February. And if it's not up to standard by then we will.
That's the knowledge. It's not that's the nursery stuff is a site. That's the plot.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, we, as a committee, that's all we can
Okay.
do, that's the plot.
Insurance, please, some.
As the nursery goes, that would then have to be
And
checked with insurance.
so we've got an extended period.
Yes.
So we're going to say 3 months, didn't we? 3 months from this date,
It was 2.
3 months.
December.
3 months is easy.
3 months from this date.
Yeah.
To make sure the plot's up to standard. I do think we ought to offer the gentleman personally the opportunity to see if he wants to give up one of the plots. And I think that should form part of it, because I think we all know that's a massive task for me, let alone an 8-year-old. So I think that should be part of it, because we're talking about 2 plots. We must ensure that it is 70% done by that period. Otherwise, we haven't achieved what we're going to. On another note, in the meantime, we have to make sure that we've checked our insurance. See if anybody can visit.
Can I just on the insurance parts, we're quite happy if you need to the details of our insurance company.
Thank you, that's kind of you.
Thank you.
If it makes it easier to share.
I think it will help.
Okay, so just so I can check though, are we voting on the extension?
Yeah.
All the other bits said, and continued visits by the nursery, assuming that the insurance is all good.
If the insurance.
Can I have a proposer, please?
Can I just, I don't think the nursery should be doing site clearance, with great respect. That's not the nursery job. That's
Where did it say?
No, nobody said that.
Nobody's saying that they're going to be doing the clearance.
It'll be the adults.
there's nothing for them to do until that's up to scratch.
So what we're saying,
And we are in winter, so it's a bit.
what we're saying is you need to bring it up to scratch within that 3 months with no children on the site while you're doing it.
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
And if you could see by the letters, if I tell what's happening to the parents, to the 200 parents that we have, they'll be there tomorrow doing it.
Exactly.
Thank you. So can I have a proposer, please? Councillor MacDonald and a seconder. Councillor Peters, all in favour? Great. Done. Thank you very much.
So 3 months,
To get it up to scratch.
get it scratch.
And then if it's not up to scratch, basically, regardless of what you want to do, he would lose that plot.
And can you get your dad to look at seeing whether he wants to put it down to 1 plot, which will be more manageable for yourselves and him?
I'm almost sure he would say no, because that's something that.
It's not anything, it's just we've got duty of care. And if we don't fulfil that duty of care, then we neglect for one.
Yeah.
So just to be clear on my head, so you guys have been asked insurance if it's okay for us to go,
Yeah.
and if insurance says yes, and you put the plot up to scratch to 5% within the
Pretty much.
Then we're good to go. Are we going to have anything in writing regarding it?
Yeah, so can I just say it will be minuted in the minutes, which we kept forever. We never get rid of them. Secondly, Nick will contact the insurance company tomorrow and get an answer for you by the end of the week.
Have we
So
just
that-
liaised- will you liaise with the allotment officer?
So
If insurance were okay, the children still use it while we bring it up to scratch.
I
not,
would say not at the moment.
not, no.
Yeah. Okay,
Can I also ask just that you send your risk assessments and your copy of your insurance over, so any documentation that you've got, just so I can liaise again with our insurers to make sure that they're happy with what's in place. All right. But yeah, certainly no activities at the moment until that plot's brought up to standard. Oh, I know.
At least the
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you?
Okay, we've got a busy agenda, so we better crack on. So next on the item is,
Just before they go, quickly.
We're jumping back again to the community environment.
My understanding is that a lot of them shouldn't be sublet. And this is, and they're talking about getting all the terrorists to go and dig it up and do the work.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you
think that's
can,
on.
you can get other people to help you on your allotment. There's nothing in there, because I could get my brother, my sister, anyone. That's not subletting, that's just getting up with your friends and family to help you
Yeah,
with your
but
allotment.
this is being organised by them, not by the guy who runs the
Yeah,
event.
we are recording it this time.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
I don't think there's a problem because there's a familial link.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so, you know,
Red family.
whether there's, you know, the nursery attached or not, I don't think it's relevant.
No.
Just got to get it.
I don't have a problem with the nursery tending.
That's either here or there, that's not the issue.
But it's a two questions I asked. Is there no other area they can do in? They've got gardens in both their properties, so they could feasibly put a bit over. But if we allowed them to work on an unmanaged plot, something happened.
Yeah.
Me personally, I could never forgive myself. And it is tough on them. I know it's tough, but we're not here about the nursery. We're here about that plot. And if that plot isn't up to standard, there's a waiting list and someone will take that on.
But I think we've done that because if it's not done in 3 months,
Yeah, they have a.
they ain't using it anyway.
You know, I'm all for them doing stuff, but let's do it right.
okay, thank you, everyone. So we're moving on to 26325 on the agenda, which is the Community Environment Service Manager's report. Nick, would you like to introduce it for us?
Yeah, so it's to obviously for the committee to note the report. Hopefully we can move on to some more positive stuff for you all. Bring some smiles. So just some key focus points that I've extracted from the report just for you to note. So we've had really good news from Norfolk County Council after lots of lobbying. The Cannons Close underpass is now going to receive improvements of lighting, which has been on the agenda for such a long time. So I thought that'd be pleased to the councillors to know. So after about 15 years, we've finally got there. Benches and bins and the benches and litter bins on the Abbey Water Meadows have now been installed. So again, a great enhancement for that area of the town where lots of our visitors tend to find their way over. CAP partnership. So we're still continuing to work with the CAP organisation in tackling the issues of street drinking and ASB within the areas of the town. The Loo Lower Market has been a huge success. Julia again has been sort of working her magic with our traders and our weekly markets, especially the Saturday, to see that space now used, which has gone down fantastic within the community. There is some more enhancement works that will be coming up shortly, and that will be lighting. And also we're now exploring the surfacing issues around near Wetherspoons where there's currently railings. So we're looking at maybe getting some funding for that for 2026. Markets on Tour event. So again, we've been working with a company, a very renowned market trader, who's now setting up an event called Markets on Tour. It's again to focus and kind of put the message out there how important our markets are within our market towns, and how these, again, are a starting point for any sort of local businesses that maybe want to start out. It's a starting point for somebody to start trading very easily, quite cheaply, and very affordable. Also, we've been sort of looking at some other areas. So again, the King's Square, we're trying to again work with the local businesses to try and come up with a solution to try and get some more footfall into the main town areas. So again, we're trying to sort of liaise with them to see how they want to sort of progress, what the suggestions they would like us to bring to the committee for approvals to see that area enhanced and also to attract more people in. Thetford in Bloom. So Thetford in Bloom 2026, plans and preparations are well underway. We've had our first meeting as a team, and we're also starting to work with the local businesses and building partnerships up with the local schools to see how we can encourage our younger generation to be involved and take pride within their town. Riverside Walk, again, enhancements have been completed, so planters and benches and Christmas lights. One of the other things is allotment roadshow. So we've been asked to approach the RHS about promoting allotments within our town, and again, how they serve a great facility for our community and those members in the community that use those facilities. Another one, just to finish off, is the partnership that we've been building with the Environment Agency. As many of you know, we've had the devastating news that we had the pollution event that took place in the town. And we've managed to work with the Environment Agency's fisheries team to see, at the moment, 1,000 chub, 1,000 dace and 1,000 roach reintroduced, young fish reintroduced and restocked into the Little Ouse River. That'll be taking place next Monday, the 8th of December. And that'll be at the Coffee Mill Sluice. We're hoping an estimation time of around about 11:30, 12. But we will get a live ETA when we're on the site. But it's basically, again, a partnership to try and see further improvements for our river. But again, councillors, committee members and everybody's welcome to come down to celebrate that really good achievement of working in partnership. And there'll be further stocks again introduced in 26 and 27, when again we'll see around 2,000 of those species for the next 2 years reintroduced into the river. So a real positive aspect for the town council to be working with the Environment Agency on, following a devastating pollution event.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Councillor MacDonald.
I've got a couple of things, like a really good report as always. A couple of things. Benches and bins on the water meadow, are they ours?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They're under licence.
Yes, and we're clearing those. Okay, the reason I mention it is there's an increasing amount of fly tipping around bins that's happening not just on the Abbey but on other estates. I got collared by somebody else yesterday. So it's becoming a thing. Yeah. So we need to be prepared for that. How you can be prepared, I'm not sure. Be prepared to root through it and find out who did it. The next one is the funding for the railings through 26. I think that's the link between our top and lower market is not good. The steps are poor, the railings poor, the Harris fencing that's at the back of the shambles is bad. It looks a mess. So making that link, and now that I've got a toddler that I'm pushing around, those kind of areas are so difficult to navigate. Thought I'd mention that. And the last one on the Environment Agency and the fish restocking, it's such a good opportunity to do a video for that, to regain some, we've done well. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councillor Wright.
Yeah, just following up on Mac's point, which is what I was going to bring up about that link now with the Boudica Pocket Park there, the lower market. There's a lot more people going between the two areas. We did talk about a long while ago in a short-term measure, getting some screening on the Harris fencing, which you can get when the wind goes through. And I think talking to Wetherspoons, you'd probably get them to pay for that. And we have had conversations in the past just to put some imagery, or even if it's just false brickwork continuation of the existing brick wall. Longer term, it would be lovely to have that brick wall extended round, so it's in keeping with the existing brick wall there, with a sliding gate that would allow the bins to be taken out. You can't have a really small gate. You need a decent sized gate because then bins are quite big to pull out. But if we could think, rather than just some cheap and cheerful scaffold poles, which sometimes you get railings put in. Let's think a bit more, think, because it is an ever more important link. Whether we'll solve the steps issue is another matter, mate. But separately, the Thetford in Bloom thing, I did speak to Sonia at quite a while back, Battle of Britain, I think it was, that the area along the London Road, we as a town council did have a licence to cultivate on there from Norfolk. We did speak to Jane James County, and she's spoken to the engineer. He's happy for us to do something there. I want to take Sonia down there to explain the situation. Brendan Moore, who you may remember was the ICE brewery guy, he wants to do the work and get volunteers from like the BTO and things like that. So I think it's one of the things we don't have to get, because our volunteer is quite stretched as it is. But if we can encourage him to do it, it would, tidy up an area which, when you take people around on Thetford in Bloom, it's that linkage between the sites. We've got the lovely sites, but they always look at what's in between. If we can, that's an area which we can tidy up.
Absolutely, and
Really
I'll
good.
go back to Norfolk County Council and resurrect that licence just to see.
No, but Jane has already spoken to.
Okay, brilliant.
And basically they said they're still in the town council's thing, as long as we are happy for Brendan to take it forward. That's why I'd like to Sonia to meet him, explain what they want to do there, but just tidying it up would be,
Brilliant.
Thank you. So I'll just ask the town clerk, did you have something you wanted to say in response?
Just to let you know, we have had lots of conversations with Wetherspoons regarding the fence.
Yeah.
We are going to remove the house fencing because, would you believe, it doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to Wetherspoons. We actually know who put it there. And I came across it the other day where it was so far out in the path. I was walking and I nearly tripped over it, let alone a pushchair or a disabled person. So we've moved right back, but we need to look at a long-term suitable, like you're saying. But I think one of the things we're looking at is seeing how much Wetherspoons would provide and seeing if we can link into some other funds out there to put a wall or a good fence back in there. And I do agree that will bring up that site tremendously. Especially now we are linking into the pocket park and the two markets are so vibrant.
Thank you. Councillor Peters.
Continuing that Wetherspoons could, the argument we could use to them is that it makes it more secure for them. Two things on there, Thetford in Bloom.
Yeah.
Obviously I went and I was quite excited seeing how many different categories that we can actually enter. Can we look to, right, and I don't mean us do the work, encourage the schools to still want to encourage the care homes to do, because they were special categories for all of these things. And the more groups that we can get involved, the easier it is. And if they're doing the work and they make it, it saves us doing it.
It really does.
So I really think we should be encouraging schools, care homes. Come February after, I'm quite happy to do some work
Fantastic.
and visit and stuff like that. Obviously until I retire.
Oh,
Our officer, biodiversity officer, is doing some work with the schools. And also we've got an Angler in Bloom group, which we set up within the town council. Terry, Councillor Land, is part of that. Once you retire in February, if you want to become a part of that, you're more than welcome to come.
I'd love to.
Yes, we can invite you to them. And we are looking at doing lots and lots for next year.
I'm 6 gold medals next year.
6.
oh. So we're already sowing the seeds with the local businesses. So we've been talking to some of the public houses in the town.
Because
Absolutely.
why don't we look what's society?
And it benefits their businesses as well, doesn't it? It brings footfall to their businesses in the town. So the more we can link in and work together in these partnerships, it really does promote Thetford.
And the second point is the pollution. Do we have anywhere further forward on?
No, it's just under investigation.
Still under.
Legalities.
It's still under investigation. They have got someone in mind, but they don't want to tell anyone because they don't want to prejudice it. But they will tell us as soon as they are able to.
It's just going through the.
But just to make you aware, it happened in Stowmarket as well on the river down there at the weekend. So whoever is responsible is not just targeting Thetford, because it was happened in Stowmarket at the weekend.
That's not good.
No.
And it's happening
Also,
already.
we think it's a deliberate act. I didn't realise that. I thought it was an
No,
accidental pollution.
you know, I think it was with intent.
I didn't know.
Unfortunately, it's just,
Don't really.
it's mind boggling. People would do that, but has,
Okay.
it's within,
Any other comments on the report then?
Very far on the report.
As usual, brilliant, lots of excellent work, absolutely, fantastic, the amount of partnership work.
hard thing to do.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to the team.
Good, so we move on to 26425, progress on actions.
Yes. So it's just, you've all read the report. As you can see, there was a lot of action. Sorry, let me just get the right page. Nick's report is so long, it'll take me a week.
It's our side.
A lot.
It's
A lot.
now reading.
Do tell him, not so much.
You do try, didn't you?
There's,
I've gone past now, haven't I?
You're on markets now.
But it's,
Okay, well, you've all,
Page 27.
page what, sorry?
27.
Yeah, unfortunately, the way this is, 34, oh, nearly there. 28. Yes,
that's it.
There we go.
but as you can see, this is nearly fitting onto one page now, and which shows you a lot of these have already been completed. So this is just highlighting the good work and how much officers are keeping up with your resolutions and doing the work that you're asking them to. So this can highlight the great pieces of work that they are doing. And what I'm going to do at the end of the year, I'm going to send through the completed list for the full year, just to show you how many actions we have done within that year and highlight, you know, how many resolutions you've made, how many decisions you've made,
Okay.
and the work that's been undertaken.
Very good. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, so we're on to 26225. Allotments.
Allotments. Oh, no, we've done allotments.
We've done a lot.
Done allotments.
Oh, we've done
Next
them.
one.
I do have a question.
Oh,
Yeah.
If you'd be so kind. Yeah, I noticed that you've got a list, and I'm really pleased to see it, of the allotments that are still waiting to be vacated, those that are complete and all the rest of it. Would it be possible to have a report over the course of time over which allotments are ready to go? Because my suspicion is that it's the same ones that keep sort of rolling over. We've got the same allotments, and we've got 20 allotments spare. We need to get rid of them, maybe, don't we?
Yeah.
And get them into use as soon as possible, if we can.
Yeah.
I believe we've got 14 on the waiting list, is that right?
There is, yeah.
I'm searching back to what I read 3 days ago here. So I think there's every opportunity to get these
Use, yeah.
turned around, as it were.
Yeah, just with allotments, just for the committee to note as well, we are still particularly looking at, there's several plots there that are historically, unfortunately, in a really bad condition.
Yeah.
We are at the moment trying to explore options about how we recuperate some POS for these legacy tenants, if you like, that have been in POS for a long, long time. So we're looking at the legality side of how we can do that. Because obviously if we give them a notice to quit, we've got a serious amount of money to spend to get these plots cleared. So we want to try and work with the existing tenant while they're there. So some of the plots, you will know that they are in a very, very poor state, but they are being looked at very, very much as a prominent thing to be.
Point where I agreed with the couple here, further it is, there are a number of plots not being worked.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to get onto that.
And I think that makes it really difficult for us to do anything and enforce anything
Yeah.
whilst they go, but look at them ones over there. And they're quite right.
Yeah,
But
that's a valid point.
It's not the point, but
no,
it's.
it's not.
Yeah.
But it's, it's a perception if you can really, try to uphold some tenants to a standard where others are not. And you need to be fair to all of them in a way, so.
No, I completely agree, and
Yeah.
I think we should be rigorous in.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of everything. Sorry, the signed minutes, I think you've got to keep on doing.
Yeah, been looking for them for the last.
In them.
Okay, The GICS 25 open spaces and charges policy.
So as a committee, note, we've sent out the proper up-to-date open space policy and charges this time round. So the main revision from the previous meeting that we had, we discussed obviously the format. So we've had the format slightly changed. There's not a lot of difference apart from the pricing that's been increased, just again to reflect the usage of our sites and to try and bring some income in at a fair price for the different sites and areas. So that's been produced kindly. So we would like the committee now to approve the new open space policy and to approve the revised fee structure that's outlined above in the report.
Councillor Land?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I certainly agree that prices need to go up. I do accept there is a law of diminishing returns. If you keep putting that up, they're going to put people away. But I think these still, even though they've gone up this amount, are still incredibly reasonable.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, and I suspect Councillor McDonald back me up here, that we hardwire increases in those prices over every year, as we have done in other projects, maybe 5% a year.
Yep. Any other?
Just a little
Peters?
observation. Key Square small performance area, Key Square light performance area. We're charging basically to do that. But how do we get around buskers?
So they are unofficially using it if they're there. So we can go and ask them to move on because we do own the area. They are there and they shouldn't be there. If we're notified they're there, we can get one of the team members to go down and move them because they should be submitting all their paperwork to be on that site and using it. Yeah, absolutely.
Bring the recorders down there. But I can understand it because if we're saying people, I mean, that's an effective event, and you say,
Yeah.
you know, that's what we suggest. And we are saying it's a suggested donation if it was a charity.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're saying no, but if we're suggesting that a school gives us 50 quid to perform.
I think there's within reason, you know, with the schools and stuff, you know, a community event, I mean, they can apply to use the facility and it's something that can be considered by the committee if they're happy for us to let them use that.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, there is one basket that gets down there and I'll be glad to get her moved.
Okay.
That's just my own preference.
Okay. So we are,
Yes, and my amendment would be that we accept this as it is, but we say that prices will go up 5% each year, rounded up to the nearest £5.
Thanks you for doing that.
Otherwise,
Absolutely. You know, I think, you know, we've tried to be as fair as we can. And we just obviously distinguish between community and commercial, you know, which is the main thing. But we've tried to be reasonable to understand that, you know, these facilities are, you know, for the community usage and to bring more things into the town.
so Councillor Land, are you the proposer in this case?
I am.
Great. Could I have a seconder? Councillor McDonald, all those in favour? Thank you. Great, good job.
Thank you.
You again, 26725 market rules and regulations.
I do apologise, you're getting a lot of me tonight. Okay, so just looking at the market rules and regulations, we obviously went through and really kind of tried to simplify our rules and regulations, but also, you know, cover every aspect that we need to. One of the things that we didn't cover the last time round when they were brought to committee, which we've reviewed, is the gazebo safety and adverse weather management. So it's just to make sure that we're covered in the event, and especially our allotment officer, Julia, that she's
Markets officer.
markets officer, yeah, Julia, that, you know, she's covered with her understanding of what, you know, is within the rules and regulations, and also our stall holders as well. So it's just to you know, break it down into wind speed, snow, and obviously the responsibility and liability and where that lies.
Sorry, I was looking around. have these been put before the market traders and the coordinator?
So again, we wanted to bring it to committee just to get your feelings for it, and then we could then consult again under the understanding if approved.
Because under, I think it's 3.1, it says that we consult with traders. By the way, I should say my stance on this does not come from either an individual or group of traders. This is me. Okay. I do think we should put these things, in good communication, or to put it before market traders before we sign it off.
It says that the market manager or market coordinator will provide a copy of our current fees in 3.1.
Oh, that's the wrong one then. Apologies.
And what my belief is that if we go out there and ask our 16 traders if they agree to these, we've got to get 16 different versions of what they want changed. Now, I agree that we need to work with them, but with regards to health and safety, we cannot ask them what do they think is the right wind speed or anything like that.
So I would add that in terms of the amendment, I'm absolutely all for it. I think it's a really good step that you've taken. I don't think anybody could be against that. It's just about the principle of consultation. And by the way, I would offer the observation that consultation doesn't mean you have to listen to them. They come back with what they say, and we say, yeah, we've taken the views into consideration. This is what we're going to do. I think it's about working with the traders in the same way as we work with, for example, our allotment holders, and having that connection. Right at the beginning, when I first came on this council, I was chair of the then events committee.
Would have been.
One of the first jobs I did there, because it included markets, was went over to Swaffham and chatted with the people there. They have a really good Friday and Saturday market. Over there, their entire committee is market traders. And as much as I would like to have something similar here, that's not going to happen because so many of our traders come from such a distance. But I think a stronger connection between the two of us will further the great strides we've made already in terms of appointing the coordinator and her doing so well and us expanding and all the rest of it. I think it's just another little step. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good, all right. Can I have a proposal for the approval of the policy then?
Please, someone else.
Peters, thank you. A second, councillor Wright. All in favour, thank you. Councillor Peters, are you in favour? You are, good. You are. Okay, so we're on to 26825, cemetery pricing.
Seems like I'm just bringing all this bad news to you tonight. These increases.
Back stewards, or
Is that anybody's bag?
I think,
That's councillor Wright's bag.
oh, so he forgot it. That's what I was saying. That might be his bag.
No,
That's the same.
which I haven't done.
Maybe I think he's gonna forget his bag behind. Yeah. That's- Managed to get him just.
Just on his way back in. We're on 26825.
Yeah.
So moving on, so we've obviously got the potential increase of burial fees. Our cemetery administrator officer has been working hard to try and look at some of our sort of fees that we have in place at the London Road Cemetery and also in comparison for other local towns nearby. And to just try and make sure that we are covering our costs of the running of the cemetery. Obviously, we know that there is a lot of outgoings with grounds maintenance and all the bits of upkeep with the site. So it's just obviously for the committee to note that there's been a proposal put in place here for the committee to consider. These fees were also taken from local councils nearby: Bury St Edmunds, Dereham, Diss, Haverhill, Newmarket, Norwich, Watton and Wymondham. So they're all local, sort of close by towns. Looking at the fees, there's two options. It's either we increase the fees by 5% or by 10%. But just to give you a bit of a feel, there is some figures there that are outlaid that other towns obviously charge, and she's tried to break it down between the highest and the lowest that are charged within the area locally. So it's just for the committee to sort of feel and know whether you would like to increase the burial fees to help cover costs.
So I think this is a piece of work that because of details in it. If you look at the 10%, we don't outstrip anybody. We fall nice and neatly in between. So it's a very sensible start and a good first step. Thereafter, just like every other thing we do, we should review annually and make sure that we keep those incremental rises. Otherwise, we will be in the process of having to put big leaps on again. So I think it's a good step. 10% is sensible.
I agree. 10% is I think reasonable. It is the median. The one that I don't know, it's one of them things, you know, the 0 to 4s. Really think, you know, and if we can find a way that we don't charge for the help.
Just say we don't charge for under 18.
Under 18.
Claim back the money from the
So
government.
That's government money.
Yeah, it's
I
government.
didn't know that. But it's just one of them things, you know, that I just thought, you know, for 0 to 4.
I
A lot of
remember
things want-
very early on in your town clerkship about where that came to bear.
You know what?
Oh, no, I'll speak back.
Okay.
Okay.
I think 10%, and then we look at in the future years. And I'm delighted that we don't charge for under 18.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree with your justification. I completely agree with that. I think the issue we have here really is we don't really want to be giving away our plots because we have a shortage of plots. So my attitude towards that is I wouldn't necessarily think it's market forces at play here, but I think we should capitalise on the fact that we are offering a service that's quite a bit lower than other people. I would go much higher than 10% actually to get us closer to the, as Vic says, the median, the mean, whatever average you want to use. So I would go even higher, and then, as Mick says, 5% every year. So I would propose 15.
We could do 10 this year and look at 10 next year, incremental.
So I do think that's the sensible thing to do, because one of the other things I know that we're trying to do in the cemetery is to try and grow our other areas of income.
That's right.
So we don't have to rely entirely on that.
Yep.
And yes, we are short of burial plots, but it isn't all about that.
Mhm.
You know, there's other options. 10% now, 10% next year will get lost in the noise. 15% now sounds, you know, a massive increase. And this is the fault of previous councils in here, where we've all said, no, it's unfair to the people who are suffering a bad time, or we won't put the prices up. And we're now having to correct that. So I think I get where you're coming from, but I think Vic's point, 10% now, 10% next, makes sense. Fine.
Can I just say to note that Nick and I are doing some work, well, Nick mostly, with the EA. And we're now doing further ground testing and asking if we can do further plots because we've had no changes to any of the assessments over the last year. So they've all rechecked to see whether we can actually do more burials next year. So we might likely be able to do more than the 24, is it currently?
Yeah.
24 a year. We might be able to get that up a bit more.
We're sort of thinking with the consultants that we're working with at the moment, if we can get it to 10 to 15, that would really give us some scope to have some flexibility there. We've got the full support at the moment from the consultants that, you know, they also appreciate that there's been no changes over this course of time that they've been monitoring for us. So like Sonia said, we are working with the EA at the moment on that. So further updates will hopefully come in due course.
Okay, Councillor Lund?
Yeah, because I believe we ramped down the testing a bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
We dropped it back a bit because it was costing us an awful lot of money. So that feels like good news. I completely accept your premise, Vic and Matt. 10% this year and 10% next year. It's a bit like what happened at the end of last council when they refused to raise council tax year on year on year. Bang, you get a big one. If at all possible, I think we need to avoid doing that. So if you want to amend it to 10% this year, 10% next, I'd be very much in favour of that.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that and propose that. That'd be good.
I was just gonna say, I think steady increase to sustain the fees, so we don't find ourselves in the deficit as before. Of 10% over time makes sense. It's not a great leap, but if we do in a regular steady increment every year, then at least people know what they're counting on with, it becomes sort of a pattern that things with inflation they will go up and will go up by a certain amount. There is not a huge amount. It doesn't make such a dent in their budgets as well. And it keeps, it sort of covers up for whatever
Thank you.
inflation covers.
Barbara?
So can I just clarify that what you're saying is 10% from now? And then
Yep.
10% in the year 26, 27?
Yes.
And then thereafter 5%?
Yeah.
Also, no, thereafter, we need to review.
Depending on the income streams we find from various, so there's going to be a lot of things at play. It's going to be how many more
Thereafter,
burial places we get, what are the income streams we can secure as part of the conversations we had about developing that side of things for the cemetery. So it all depends about what the income is and how much that percentage is to average with inflation, isn't it? We can then adjust it in years to come.
We mentioned it before, didn't we? You said 5% is something we looked at across a lot of our increases.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that's fine if inflation's within that.
Mm.
If it goes above it, then we would be daft to stay underneath. So, and that's why we need to do our annual reviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
Yeah, Barbara?
so you're asking for an increase of 10% from now, and then the next 10%, are we talking April 2026, 27, or are we talking December 26, 27?
When does it go?
I just said the burial fees annually thereafter 5% per annum unless the committee decides.
Whenever the financial year revised or
Are
revolved,
you talking about financial years, or are you talking about this year starting from December 2nd?
It's the question that we start from this year, or I'd say.
It doesn't say, that's why I'm clarifying.
I think
Start from now.
And then
It
put
can
them
be-
in April, and then we go back to our financial years, and then we can bring it to council once a year. Oh, God, no. Well, we're back to Peter.
Come back to people.
apply that in good respect. That's
Okay, so
That's part of the costs. So,
can I have a proposal? The proposal is 10% now, 10% at the start of the next financial year, and then review before the following financial year. And a seconder? Councillor Peters, all in favour? Thank you. Great. Good job.
Thank you.
26925, pest control.
So up until recently, our town clerk has really worked hard on this one to produce the pest management policy. Obviously, we know we've had a number of problems on a couple of our allotment sites in regards to pests with rats, and also we've got lots of open spaces and other areas that we own and manage around the town. So we do use an outsourced professional contractor. But we just needed to put something together as a policy that stated down the do's, the don'ts, the roles and responsibilities, and also the actions and what's required throughout. So, as I say, the town clerk has really worked hard on producing this. So we hope that obviously the committee can kind of approve for this to be brought into play, and something that will give us good guidance for going forward.
Thank you very much. Any comments? Please.
If we adopt this as our policy, is this going to be cascaded out to the allotment holders?
Absolutely. Yeah,
They're aware
to be available.
not worth having a policy if we're not telling anyone what's
It's got
going.
to be all tenants. Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. Can't see anything in there that's untoward otherwise.
It'll also be a public document, so anybody that can.
It'll be on our website.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask somebody to oppose it? No. Thank you, councillor Peters, and the seconder, councillor Beretta, great. All in favour? Thank you. 270-25, introduction of new trees on Melford Common.
Okay, so we've got a report in regards to the trees at Melford Common. So as many of you know, we've got a lot of sort of older trees down around the outer parts of the lower Melford Common especially. All horse chestnuts, unfortunately, they've been suffering for a number of years. Our tree surveyors have picked up now that, you know, there is a sort of serious decline in these trees, and we obviously need to start thinking about what we do for the future within that area and how we manage the decline. We can't get the initial permissions to remove them from the Breckland tree officer. He wants to manage their decline until they're at a point when they can be completely removed. But the main thing for us is to obviously have a sustainable approach going forward in replacing those trees. And there's several species there that have been listed, which has been picked up from a national conference that was held at the RHS Wisley just recently. So there was a lot of discussion around horse chestnuts and the problematics around them, and some of the suitable species that will now be suitable to replant with the current climate changing, and what will work and what won't work for the particular soils that we've got. So the officer recommendation, looking at those and the information within the report, is to develop a formal replanting plan using the species list provided by the Tree Works Environmental Practice, which is our contractor, with a preferred focus on oak trees varieties, given their resilience and suitability. That was a highly recommended tree at the conference and also by our tree surveyors. We would also like the committee to delegate the authority to officers to have discussions with the Breckland Council's tree officer regarding the licensing requirements for the future removal or replacement of the TPO protected trees, and to also delegate the RFO to add a budget allocation for phase plant, including potential external funding or partnership opportunities in 26, 27 and 28 budgets.
Very good, thank you. Any comments or questions, councillor?
Yeah, please, let's not have any foreign trees in. You know, let's use something local. We've already got lots of Scots pine around. You know, it doesn't provide a great deal of biodiversity, and so something like white beam would be a quicker grower than the oak, and that would make sense because it's 15 to 20 meters in height and 5 to 10 in spread. I don't know that, I just read it.
It's really
like some bill. But the reason I looked at it was because I've seen it planted before and it grew quite well, and I thought, I'm pretty sure this is a fast grower in the early years.
Councillor McDonald, you've got the job.
The point is, I'll shut up.
Oh,
Councillor Brecker?
I was just going to say, I agree. If we can stick to native species, the better, because it's got part, not an environmental aspect, but it's got part of it fits in with the heritage and with natural environment as well. I mean, I couldn't tell a tree from another one. I'm not for tree. But from those three that are native species, it seems to me that one of them is valuable for pollinators. So considering the environment and how we're pushing the channel to make sure there's areas proper for bugs and bees and all that stuff, then maybe that's something to consider, which goes with Glen access. Just an idea anyways.
Thank you, sorry, I lost track of who was next. Was it you, councillor Lynn? Probably.
Yes, Scots pine and coniferous trees, I'm not sure they give us the value that deciduous trees would give across the year. I'm a big fan of Saurus, and I've got a Saurus torminalis in my garden. It's a brilliant tree, so I'll be very happy with that. I do have a little worry about it, and it is this, and I don't know what we do about it. I always like to answer a problem with a solution, but I haven't got one here. When I first moved to the town, I used to go walking a lot around the Melford Common and up along Melford Common Road. And when I first moved in, there were trees all the way along there, weren't there? and they got hammered down. And I don't think it was just by vandalism kids. I think part of it was also grass cutting.
Yeah.
And I feel we need to find a way, and as I say, I can't suggest this, we need to find a way of that not happening again, because it's very expensive and it's a waste of everybody's time.
We had quite a bad drought as well at that point, and so we lost
Yes,
a lot
we
of
did.
hedge and trees, didn't we?
It was the year of COVID, and that was a really long hot summer, spring and summer.
Yes. Um,
Okay. Obviously, I don't know nothing about trees. Well, I just like them. But
It's like plenty of them.
I think having a nice mix of the, I can't pronounce peduncle oak and the white beam would be great. I can Scotch pine. We've got pine everywhere. We don't on the common, but we do need to do something about protecting the tree line and enhancing it if we can.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the experts need to do that. As you say, I'd watch a tree there, and I don't know what the hell it is, and it's probably inappropriate. I don't think I'm able to do it, but I think I agree with this, but I would like when made rather a native tree and have a mix of native tree than just a line of.
Thank you. Councillor Rand?
Yeah, just a quick one. I think somewhere in the document, Unlocking Thetford's Potential, it said that the environment is the heart of everything we do. In that light, native trees are so much better because so many species grow on them as opposed to the non-native ones. And so we've already said that we want native trees, but I think that's another good reason for down.
Terry, I knew I was on something here.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I was just going to add one thing. You mentioned it about columns of trees, and I think that's one of the things that marks out somewhere like Melford Common, the lower part, is an avenue of trees. And when they were planted, they were all the same tree, all planted at the same time, all come up together. Now it's starting to look like the broken teeth mouth, where we've got ones missing now, and it becomes a little bit difficult to replant. And you'll see that in between some trees have been planted on the triangle to try and get away from the root structure. So it isn't easy, but in general, the easiest answer is to plant another completely separate line of the same plants. Otherwise, you're going to end up with what's effectively a multi-treed forest rather than a tree-lined avenue, which is what we've got at the moment, albeit not very good. So that's the only thing I would say about sticking to the same type of tree. Of course, you always have a problem that if in years to come that gets white beam pest, then they all disappear the same as elms and the
Annual chestnut.
The ash.
horse chestnut have now, but that's totally
A few years now, the horse chestnut's been, and you can see the colouring on the leaves.
Yeah, that's it. Enough.
Very brief question. Do we have any potential external funders lined up, or do we know have any pockets that are available yet?
Not at the moment, but then we have to explore.
Right, just wondering, because there are, I know there is things out there, it's just about identifying them, isn't it?
There is funds available, but now for very, very small trees, you're going to need to put in.
Substantial.
Robust.
That's where I was trying to get at. Will we be able to source some funding, or is there anything lined up for that specific, like the native trees?
All the funding,
Things you're mentioning.
all those plug plants that you put in forests. That's what they've used it all for. We'd need something really quite substantial
So I was going
to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm told, and I'm sort of stretching the armchair a bit, that the optimum height for a new tree to put in the ground is around 6 feet, 2 metres.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
I think that's what I heard, yeah.
Can I just say, I never knew that we had so many trees.
No,
We don't need to.
I wouldn't mind it.
We all have a green thumb around this table, eh?
Conversation's just been fascinating.
Right?
Thank you. And everything's been said that I would have said in terms of the benefits to biodiversity. Thank you. So I'm going to ask for I don't think we're suggesting any amendments to what we've seen. We're happy to delegate authority, and we're happy to delegate addition of a budget for phased planting. Can I have a proposer for that? Councillor Bretta, thank you. And a seconder.
In the happy to.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. All in favour? Thank you. Good. 2725, request for a plaque at Nuns Bridges. Nick.
Okay, so as many of you know, we've got a dedicated couple of volunteer groups for the town council, and especially our conservation group. We've had a request in from them in regards to having a plaque put down at the Nuns Bridges site, particularly where the creeper marsh fort is significantly thriving. Mr. Jeff Young, who was a member of the group, sadly passed away. Jeff was the member that actually discovered the rare species plant at the area when it was first identified, and the group have asked if we can have a plaque in memory of Jeff put down at the site of the creeper marsh fort. Just a basic plaque, nothing extravagant. Looking to have it potentially placed on the signage post already in place that describes about the creeper marsh fort on the background, and also the prominent parts of the species of plant and the rare biodiversity of it. So it's just to consider, obviously, if the committee are happy, if we can have a plaque onto the area in memory of Jeff, and for him finding that plant in that particular area of the town.
You just update councillors about the area as well, about the opposition about the area.
Yeah, so obviously on the officers' updates, there will be a little bit more. But again, the site is prominently with the aspect of the creeper marsh fort. It's now been recognised by Norfolk Wildlife Trust as becoming a county wildlife site. That in itself opens up, again, a real opportunity for Thetford. It signifies that it's a kind of a nature reserve, that it has rare species within the area. So again, a significant discovery, and also it also opens up an opportunity for potential funding for that area as well, with it being listed as a county wildlife site. So there's lots of benefits to this, and thankfully to Jeff for discovering it as part of the conservation group.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions, comments, Councillor MacDonald.
Okay, so I do have a problem with people putting plaques up everywhere when somebody dies, because we're all going to die and there'll be plaques all over the place. This is a slightly different case. We've already set a precedent of doing this. We did it with Sean Reedy already, and I wasn't that keen on that either.
Yeah.
Because it sets this precedent. I would go further and say that, you know, a brass plaque is going to be unreadable, dirty before you look away. You know, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. If it's a plaque that explains that he was instrumental in identifying that,
Yeah.
then I think it has more value.
Yeah, yeah. I
If
agree.
it's tied in with the current signage, you know, the first person to identify it, that makes sense.
Mm.
If it's purely a memorial plaque, then I'm afraid the place for that is a cemetery.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb.
Yeah, the sort of thing that I would want to see, you know, we have those boards that describe the environment, sort of quite large one, which that would seem to be a lot more in keeping with what was obviously more expensive, but more in keeping with what we're doing, with an explanation about the marsh fort, about his role in it, and all the rest of it. I'm spending money out for it.
Haven't we already got a sign? You're talking about just the little tiny sign. So here's the problem. Yeah, this is that's it.
A tiny sign there.
Home produced one.
Yeah.
An information board that explains about this nationally significant find, you know, and it doesn't have to be huge, but an information board, we've got them down by the river, you know, they're really useful. That can not only explain what it is, how nationally important it is, you can even put a picture of him and volunteers, you know, and explain their part in finding and discovering it. So it's a lot more useful for people's history in the long term. And it doesn't look like a death plaque, which doesn't belong. If you see what I mean. Yeah, you're right, it does come at a cost.
Good. It's a really nice suggestion.
I think it's a really good suggestion and I think it's a nice idea and I think the
Yeah.
family will go
I
with
think
it.
they would, yeah,
I was,
I think they would support that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it makes much more sense to incorporate what's in there, what's in the importance, and who found it. Is all part of a package deal of information, local information. And by doing it, you can certainly say it was found by this person, that was part of this group in such and such date. And you can even put the person, put it in brackets, the age, as you put for this person, 19 whatever to 2000 whatever. And just blend it in as part of the general paragraph that explains how the plant was found out. I absolutely agree. I think it's better and it's more explanatory even for whoever visits the site to respect the site, basically.
Thank you.
Can I just say that what you're suggesting now is going to be more than £50. So you need to take that into consideration
Yeah.
to make this
Yeah, would be.
decision.
So who is paying £50 for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
How
So-
much would the difference be to do a plaque like for, with this?
The ones they used, because we had the people from the Fens and Mopset, didn't we?
Yeah.
And they put a couple up, they were quite expensive.
Yeah.
So they were, I think, from memory, something like 1,500 each.
No, we've done some in this and they were cheaper than that. What we
Okay.
can do is you could make a decision in principle and ask us to bring it back to the next committee with the price.
Yeah.
And then you can agree it with a price. I mean, we're more than happy to do that if it's something that you want us to do.
Yes, I personally would.
Yeah. Can I just check?
Yeah, so obviously just adding on, I think it's a real opportunity, like Councillor MacDonald said, we've put in the signage down there, putting a bit of history about the site, the conservation group, and I think also now with this county wildlife site also being added on, I think it really does fit in nicely.
Would it help Angler in Bloom?
Uh,
I think it would definitely, absolutely.
Councillor Brotto?
Yeah, I was gonna say, because of
We're
the
doing it.
importance of the site, and it might even attract specific funding for preservation of the sites like these, that the plaque will actually be an add-on that eventually it will have a return on itself. It's sort of a bit of an investment into a local specific pocket that is of national importance to us. You know, it might even have, you know, over time, that value will spread out, will be returned in the income when any funding we can get from it, basically.
Peters?
Yeah, I've been educated today. I must say that plaque looks better than that notice.
Yeah.
Much more professional, much more. And I like the idea. And the reason I've been educated, because I was looking to put a plaque up for Ron Butcher at the Lantern. But yeah, I was going to see if we could get that dedicated to him and have a little garden there. And I think that might get some opposition. But it was something I thought would be a nice idea, because I quite liked the idea of it. He was one of our last veterans. So I'll go away and look for a new venture that might manage that.
We've been talking about this a lot with the cemetery, about having memorial walls, as it were. So what essentially you do, you have a wall, doesn't matter whether it's made of clunch or flint, whatever you want to do, but then you fix your memorial plaques to it. There's no burial, there's nothing else apart from you can have a different size plaque with something written on it. You can theme those, and other council have done this, where they've themed it. They've done like, I've seen one with like an old soldier's outline, so they've done like a veteran one. They've done children's ones in specific, you know, like they did a railway train and a ferry. So you can do all of those, and actually, once built, you just keep putting plaques on that you charge money for, and then those individuals the families have somewhere to go. I think we would grow something there massively as an opportunity.
Yeah, I'll look, I'll have a think about that one. Because I mean, I just thought it was big and I think and I just thought it'd be nice to use that as a thing, but you know, I'm happy to be educated, because I'm not that way. And I do think you've got a really valid point in just sticking brass plaques up everywhere. I mean, you end up like I love Griggs, but you get your memorial on the side of the road and they just spring up everywhere. And it's nice for a visitor to look at, but it's not necessarily the best one. Then, you know, to say I've been educated.
Sonia, did you want to add something?
All I was going to say is, can someone propose a different resolution then before we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Brother?
So
I was very briefly gonna say, I was looking for the right term, and the interpretation panels, the ones you put in natural sites, where you can put the panel with explanatory note of what's there and foul found and what not. And there's different sizes and models you can use, but it's an interpretation panel specific for the area. That's what I was gonna suggest, that incorporates all the information.
Thank you. Councillor Land?
To echo what Councillor MacDonald said, really, as one time regular at First Upton Park and then London Stadium, all around the stadium, they have walls and solid floors of bricks with names, dates, whatever, quite short. You could do them as long or short as you want. But it's that sort of thing that I think has more relevance than just putting plaques around the town. And I drive along Memorial Avenue in Colchester, where all the trees were planted to recognise soldiers that have fallen. And they all one time had a plaque, they've all gone now. Plaques don't last.
No, they
The way that this other stuff that we're suggesting would.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Sorry, I'm just going to finish on one last thing. The underpass that goes under the Mumford Road up towards Croxton Road, a young kid was killed there. And the underpass was completely fitted out with pictures done by the school. They were framed, covered, and there was a huge brass plaque at the end of it. It got ripped off. And all of those pictures got damaged. Now, so that's just, can you imagine how the parents felt when that got vandalised?
Yeah.
So and the reason I say that is because it's out of our control. In the cemetery, we could do something about it. Sorry.
so we need a new resolution, do we? Which is that our suggestion is that we investigate an interpretation panel which incorporates words that remember the contribution this gentleman made in discovering the marsh.
Yeah.
The marsh word.
But I think specifically that it highlights the marsh fort, its significance, the volunteer group, and incorporates in rather than the other way around. Rather than it being his memorial, it's
That
information panel with him being mentioned.
that's why I've looked it up, and rather than any a plaque, it's not a memorial plaque no more. It's an interpretation panel for specific nature sites.
Yeah.
And that content can be incorporated in the text in the panel.
Is it possible for us to say it's up to a certain amount, just get on and do it?
You can do that, or I can bring it back to council with the wording
Of the panel?
of the panel, so that you can have a full look at it in agreement.
Okay, yes.
Bring it back? Okay, all right then.
We'll go with
Do
that.
you want to advise us any more on what we're voting on, Sonia?
So to investigate an interpretation panel that incorporates the contribution of the late Mr. Jeff Young to the conservation of the creeping marshwort and the wider ecological value of the site, and to bring back to the next Community and Environmental Services Committee meeting.
Perfect.
That's brilliant.
We need a proposer and a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Peters proposed, Councillor Beretta seconds, and everybody is in favour. Thank you. Very good. Memorial bench policy 27225.
Okay, so moving on to the memorial bench policy, we keep getting lots of requests in for plaques to be placed around the town, on benches particularly. One of the things that we've looked at is obviously our memorial bench policy originally only included primarily the cemetery. So we've looked at proposing a couple of other areas potentially, but this would obviously then be subject to the committee approving. With the requests that are coming in, sites at the moment are being signified as Marketplace, Barnham Cross Common and Melford Common as being sites potentially wanted for these memorial benches to be put into place. The attached memorial policy excludes the use of plaques on existing town council furniture in the town centre or open spaces. The reason for this exclusion are as follows. Our research is that no other council permits this practice. There are maintenance issues. Responsibility for maintaining plaques will revert to the council. This will undermine the memorial bench policy with required residents to pay for a bench to have a memorial plaque displayed in recent years. If the council no longer requires the item of street furniture to be purchased by the applicant, those that have paid for street furniture will likely feel prejudiced. There is an element of uncertainty as to the ownership of some items of street furniture. The council have licences both with Breckland and Norfolk County Council, and these do not permit the display of plaques within these areas.
Thank you. Councillor Land?
Same as last time.
Yeah, I have to agree. This is exactly the same reason why you wouldn't do it. If they do this in Bow St Edmunds in the garden there, they have such a nightmare with them getting damaged. And then the people who have got their dad's plaque on a bench are now upset by the condition of the bench. You know, it just rolls on and on because so much is attached to it. You know, the claiming of ownership of an area is another thing you've got to be very careful of. So people always say, this is Grandad's bench and Grandad loves sitting here and looking at Wetherspoon. And now I'm putting some flowers there. And I'm putting his favourite green gonk that I always tie to the bench. And it becomes really difficult. The place for it is in the cemetery.
On that light, I was really happy to note recently that a woman of this parish wanted a memorial for her husband, and we directed her to King's House Gardens, didn't we? We did, for a memorial garden. I think that's a lot more appropriate if they want to do something like that, and they've got the money to do it. But in this case, I think, as Councillor McDonald says, it's about putting the right place. The other thing, of course, is everywhere you have a bench, you need a bin.
Councillor Breton?
I can see value in both points. I can see there's got to be a limit to how many benches and the costs associated with it we can put up with. And it's very hard to say yes to one person and no to the next. So it's very hard to discern who's entitled to it. I also can have come to the point that I did have some people approach me regarding plaques for memorials, particularly the family that passed away in Samat's Rana family. They did ask if there was something could request from the council. So I'm not saying that should be done A or B. I'm quite flexible how we do it. Maybe there's an appropriate site for it, like you guys said. But I think it's important to discern that now and then, just so that when that question arises again, not only for that family, but for others, we have a definitive answer to give them. We can't just be wandering around and say, yeah, we'll ask the council about putting a bench up or putting a plaque in A or B, C place, and then go back to them and say, well, actually, our policy doesn't allow for that, or the rules have changed. It's just unfair to them, to us, be misleading the public. So I think we really need to define where these things are allowed to go and where not, so that when people approach us, we can give them a definite answer.
I think further on that, the answer, I think in this case should be no, but Carla's quite right, actually. In our policy, we ought to have a statement that says it is the council's policy that we do not permit plaques to be placed around the town. The place for memorial is cemetery. And I think that makes it very, it doesn't have to be rude, nasty. It makes it clear for us and the public then, where that's going to occur. Because one of the other knock-on effects is if you agree to one and you think, well, I've got a lot of money out of that plaque, then I'm going to have another one on the same bench. I'll maybe have 3 or 4. Well, then, family A doesn't like family B, who's now on their dad's bench, etc. But also, once people see that happening, they'll do exactly what you were saying there, Dave, and they'll start putting plaques up willy-nilly wherever they fancy, because they thought they'd just put it to the back of our planter. It seemed fine. So, not heartless. I think let's do it properly, do it right, and do it in a cemetery.
Nick?
Just to add to that, obviously, Mac, again, we looked elsewhere around other towns within the local areas, and again, there very little information on, plaques being benches around the town centres and more prominent areas. It was specifically, like you say, the cemetery areas that was commonplace.
Quickly, can I just ask, we don't put a press release out to that effect?
No,
Because it'll just kick everyone off.
there's
I'm just being over.
It needs to be there, it just doesn't need to be trumped.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So I agree that it's council policy. We do accept that there'll be a need for memorials. I think it's at the cemetery, and we've got plenty of provision at the cemetery to do it, because we've got the mindful gardeners and stuff like that. So we're doing some wonderful work down there, so let's move into there.
thank you. Can I have a proposer? Thank you, councillor MacDonald, and a seconder. Thank you, councillor Land.
Can I just ask what you're actually, your resolution is, because it's not quite what's in the policy. There's no resolution in there. So what are you agreeing to, please?
So the
Approve the changes to the memorial bench policy and to not approve the request for plaques to be added to benches within the town. Or have I got that wrong?
And the policy, hang on, so I've just lost it.
It's the memorial bench.
I like the three areas.
Or approve the policy as it stands.
It actually said Castle Park with permission, but that's obviously not our delegation. So maybe we shouldn't have that in now. And the three areas that we've identified in yellow.
So I think
Yes.
approving the policy as it stands with the exclusion of plaques.
Yeah.
yes,
Exclusion of plaques, yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Okay, we've got 15 minutes to get through the last agenda item before we have to suspend the meeting.
Yes.
It'd be great if we could try and do that. It's 27325 on draft budget. Are you talking us through this, Nick, or is Sonia?
Is it me?
I think it's you.
Our lovely Deputy Town Clerk, RFO, has been working on the budget. He has presented this to you as a first draft. Obviously, if you agree it, just remember that it then goes to corporate services and they can change it, as can full council, when it finally gets agreed in December. But this is the first sort of draft for you guys to review and agree to send it up to corporate services for resolution.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Land.
Yes, just a note really. It's quite shocking how much we lose on allotments. But also a bit reassuring that in terms of running costs, I know we had some one-off expenses that largely financed outside. The markets are doing okay, almost breaking even. And I love that. But next time the allotment holders come to us wanting their salary, it's a lot of money we're spending. And so we should. But I'm happy to agree the budget.
happy. Only got 15 minutes. That's what I heard.
Yes. I think that Alan has tried to keep the budget as less as possible. Has done a lot of work with breaking down the different parts of the budget to making it more detailed so that we can get specific costs to the right cost codes. And we are aiming to keep the budget as low as possible to make sure that people's precept doesn't go up as much as we would like that. You know, we want to stay in line with other councils and keep the budget as low as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Peters.
Just one question, really. We've agreed to trees thing, and we're going to be putting some trees in the budget. Is this going to affect?
Yes, it will affect this because Alan hasn't put it in there, but it might be under, we might have it within the allotted funds for open spaces, but we might need to relook at that and put some more in there.
Okay.
Councillor MacDonald, did you have that?
So the bits I was going to raise were our income in cemetery. So we talked a lot about it, and you can see why we need to make sure we're getting good income in our cemetery, because we're not doing awfully well. It's kind of flatlined in many areas. We need to do more with the chapel. We're not getting much return on that. But I'm confident that the more we do and develop a place, the more people will be attracted and go to it. So each step we make, and I'm not going to ask you now about the tree memorials, because I know that's in progress. But each one of those will gather more, and then more use will be made of the chapel. But at the moment, it's not brilliant, really.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the additional salary that's been put in. So for an additional staff member, what is that staff member?
So we're looking at doing more projects around the town, around the riverside. We're also, council are looking at taking on more land from as part of devolution from Bretland and from county. And we're looking at doing more for Anglia and Bloom. So what we've done is put in there another staff member cost. And it's up to council whether they agree that they want that staff member. We have been asked for an extra staff member, and we were looking at 2, but there was no way that we could afford 2 in this budget. So we're looking at putting 1 in this year, 1 in the year after, just to make sure that we can do all the work that Nick's team needs to do.
Summary, we've done great work within the town centre. We want to start pushing that boundary wider. That's how we do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, can we have a proposer then? Thank you, councillor Land, and a seconder. Councillor Peters, all in favour? Fantastic, thank you. That's